Hey, what's up, guys? We're back today with a recap of the BFL 72 event, a major BFL event that took place on April 28, 2022 in Vancouver, BC, featuring three title fights as the headliners for the evening. Like I said, a major event. There was some amazing action. It was a great event that ended in an unfortunate way. We're going to get to it, but all in all, amazing fights, the fight of the year, according to me, at least a fight that will be very, very, very tough to overtake. And then some other amazing features, a great comeback win. So, some stuff that we need to talk about. And we're going to begin right now with the main event of the evening in the super welterweight division. The championship was on the line. Dejan Kajic, Saeid Mirzaei. And man, that was unfortunate how it ended because it was a great fight that was brewing up in that first round. To be honest, Dejan was landing the better shots, was doing damage on Saeid, but Saeid was able to answer back on some couple of these attempts. And there was also the threat of Saeid's wrestling that was brewing, and the fact that he was probably the bigger guy, which is not usually the case with Dejan, who fought as a middleweight and is not a small guy. So it clearly was a difference his other fights, the Cameron fight, notably. But lots of interesting factor in that fight. That's what I'm trying to say. And unfortunately, it ended prematurely because in the first round, Dayon landed a shot, and when Said tried to answer with a hook, he completely dislocated his shoulder. When you're looking at the replay in slow motion, if you got UFC Fight Pass, everything's available on UFC Fight Pass for replay. So if you got Fight Pass, go look at it. And when you look at the replay in slow motion, you can clearly see the back of Said's elbow completely dislocate. So he tried to grab his elbow and start running away from Dayan, trying to signal to the referee that he was injured and that the fight can continue. And man, it's just it's just bad the way it ended because it was an amazing fight that was brewing up, really interesting. The dynamic in that fight was great, and I really wanted to see more. And when there's a situation like this, and sometimes there's a guy who gets injured, but it's directly because of his opponent's attacks. In that case, you can say, oh, but the guy clearly has a legitimate TKO because, like, let's say he kicked the calf, or he kicked his opponent straight in the knee and his knee buckled, and the guy can continue. Then it's a TKO by injury, but the injury is caused by the opponent, so it's a legitimate win for him. Here, it's a TKO win for Dayan. He retains the belt, which is the better scenario. Let's say, like, you never wish injury on anybody, but when you've got an injury that's not caused by the opponent, like that one, I don't want to say prefer, but it's better for the sake of the division that it doesn't happen to the champion. Because let's say Dayan gets injured there, Saeed wins the belt. Everybody saying he's an illegitimate champion, that he only won because Dayan injured his own self. So it's better that it happens to the challenger than the champion for the sake of the division. But like, it's not good that it's happening to nobody. You don't want to see people get injured like this in fights. And like I said, the injury was caused by Saeed himself, who threw a punch and his shoulder dislocated. It wasn't caused by anything Dayan did. So that's why it's bad. It's like, it's just, it sucks, man. It just sucks. What are you gonna say? Especially since the fight was super interesting and was panning out to be like a super good fight that was gonna go multiple rounds, and that was gonna be back and forth and exciting, and a really cool matchup of styles. And I just hope that we get to see it again, because that's not the way you want it to end. And for Sayed and for Dayan, yes, he gets the win, he keeps the belt. That's cool for him, but of course, Dejan, with all the cancellations this guy had, and it's so tough for him to find opponents. And now he's got an opponent and he's doing well in the fight, and the guy dislocates his own shoulder, like trying to punch him, and the fight ends prematurely. So just sucks for everybody involved, and just it's sad that the event concluded in that way because it was an amazing event. But on the other end, it was such an amazing event that it's not that conclusion that is going to tarnish the rest of the event, because the action that we have for the rest of the card was pretty cool. One other fight that we have was the Bantamweight Championship of BFL between Serhiy City and Austin Russell. And good first round, really entertaining first round. Siri, I don't want to say had a slow start, but was looking a little more tentative than his opponent standing up. He really looked like the guy who is the champion and that is gonna take a full round to take his reads and figure out like how is he gonna approach this fight, and that's exactly what he did. Maybe drop this first round, I don't know, it was a close round. Still, you can give it to the champion. You surely can give it to Austin Russell too. I think there's an argument for it, surely. But in the second round, Siri had everything figured out, knew how he wanted to win that fight, and the way that he wanted to win that fight, it was with his wrestling. And you know what, it worked out pretty fucking well for him, because for the rest of the fight was able to clinch up with his opponent, take him down at will, and man, just dominate him on the ground, show a real mature approach to fighting, some real, I won't say improvements, because I feel like Siri always was a pretty good grappler. The guy rolled with Mateo Vogel, and no, he did not win this fight, but did not get submitted to. And like you see the things that Mateo was able to do. So like just really dominant from Siri. And Austin wasn't able. I feel like Austin was kind of smaller too. I feel like Austin Russell is a 125er basically. Fights at 130 catch weights lots of time, goes up to 135 to fight some guys like Gio Platon and Seri City, because there's just more bodies at 135, and Austin Russell is super talented. So the guy's able, even though he's smaller, to beat some of these 35ers, which are way bigger than him, but he wasn't able to do that to Seri City, who just ragdolled him, took him down, dominated him on the ground, at the better positions, had all the striking from top, and easily snuck in a 10-8 or 2 in these final rounds. So real dominant decision win for the champion. Something you want to see from a guy who's now 7-1, inching closer to a big time Canadian fight, which could be against the winner of the previous fight. Let's just say like that. It could be the rematch that really puts one of them into the UFC, into the contender series. But like Siri is like one fight away from being on the contender series. If there's somebody that falls through, it could be a short notice call if he stays ready right now this summer. So good shit by Seri, very dominant performance, and that's what you want to see for him. And for Austin Russell, he just fought a bigger guy that was able to control him physically and out grapple him, so he knows what to work on. But still, I feel like it would be tougher to do this to Russell at 125. So maybe the guy is just like fighting out of his weight class and he's having success, but when you get to title fights against the best guys in the country, that's where it gets tough if you're undersized. So I feel like not a loss that really hurts. Yeah, of course it hurts Austin because he wanted to become the champion and everything, but like in the long end, now I'm not too worried about him, as I wasn't worried about Siri when he lost to Mateo. And look where Siri's at now. He's that close to the UFC. So man, major props to him. But let's talk about Mateo and Nicolas Ouellet. Guys, you gotta understand, I am a jiu-jitsu guy. I do jiu-jitsu 6 times a week. I fucking love jiu-jitsu. It's one of the main reason why I'm doing this, because I was doing jiu-jitsu and I met some fighters and I said I could do some podcasts with these guys and whatever. So that's why I'm here, because of fucking jiu-jitsu. So you probably guessed that Mateo Vogel is one of my favorite Canadian fighters since he made his pro debut, and since last year, a new name that added to the list of my favorite Canadian fighters is Nicolas Ouellet, because he's an amazing fucking black belt with doing triangle Kimura finishes to guy in the cage, who is submitting Mike McAloon in the first round, where Mike McAloon is another of my favorite Canadian fighters because he's such an amazing grappler himself. So these two guys, some of my favorite fighters, they were fighting together, and man, I was expecting nothing less than a absolute fucking classic. And guys, that's what we got. That's absolutely what we got. Man, these guys just went all out on the ground. They did not waste any time. There was some striking exchanges here and there, but very not much striking in that fight. They just were on the ground, and man, Nick Ouellet was bigger and was able to, in the earlier stages of the fight, get the better positions on Mateo. But Mateo is just a fucking animal who could be in the worst possible position and he's still gonna roll for a knee bar. And man, they were countering leg locks with leg locks. They were doing some eye level black belt stuff. And man, it was just an amazing display from start to bottom. There was no dull moments in that fight. There was, man, at the end of round five, I think the submission attempts were like 20 something for Mateo to like 15 for Nick Ouellet. Fucking crazy, man. These guys were always trying to pass, trying to submit, trying to do some damage on the ground. Mateo got split up, was bleeding everywhere. Crazy, crazy, crazy fights. The rounds, they were impossible to score. Like, in my opinion, there are two clear rounds in that fight. Round two, for Nick Ouellet. Very the one probably the most dominant round of the fight. Round two for Nick Ouellet. Then round five for Mateo, because at that point it was clearly like the most experienced fighter and the fresher fighter. Nick Ouellet, the thing that I don't want to say bite him in the ass, because man, it was an amazing performance, and either of these guys could have gone away with the decision. Even though I feel like, as close as it was of a fight, in the end, you kind of felt like the momentum was with Mateo. And sometimes the guy that ends the fight the best is the guy that ends up winning. And in fact, I scored the two first for Ouellet and the three last rounds for Mateo. But like I said, the only two clear rounds, like the only two rounds that at the end of the round, I was like, oh yeah, this guy clearly won, was round two for Ouellet, round five for Vogel. At the other rounds, you may score it as you wish. I do not care. It was just amazing. And it's a fight I don't want to talk about the scoring. Like, I don't even want to talk about this. Like, I don't care who I feel won the most rounds of the fight. It was just amazing. It was some beautiful jiu-jitsu. The guys we're doing everything. Like, Mateo had some super close arm triangle attempts. Nick was able to defend every time. Like I said, Nick countered a leg lock attack with another leg lock of his own. It was pretty close on it too. And like, they were throwing some amazing submissions. They were super technical, and like they would have submitted anybody else except themselves. Like, Mateo wasn't submitting Nicolas Ouellet, and Nicolas Ouellet wasn't submitting Mateo, and they fucking tried for 25 minutes without stopping. And like, the attacks, the passings, the submission attempts, and the submission defenses in that fight were absolutely amazing, guys. I could speak about this fight for an hour if you wanted me to. I could do a full podcast breakdown of how amazing and how this fight was one of my favorite fights ever, basically. So man, fucking props to this guy, to these guys. I had some huge expectations and they over delivered. It was an absolute classic. I rewatched it like 4 to 5 times right now, and we're like Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning. It's 10:30 a.m. We're fucking Sunday morning. It took place on Friday night, and no, not on Friday. It was on Thursday night. Was it? Yeah, it was on Thursday. Right. I don't even remember, but shit, I rewatched it 5 times. It's one of my favorite fights ever. It's amazing. It's gonna be the fight of the year in Canada. I think it overtakes Strania against KB, which was another absolute classic. But man, for my personal taste, nothing tops this. Nothing tops 25 minutes of some of the highest level grapplers I've seen in a fight, basically. So man, props to these two guys. And man, like, Mateo won this fight on experience and like better conditioning, yes, but just being more used to these wars. Like, Mateo has been on some wars. You remember, it was it last year or the year before, but the Garrett Armfield fight in CFFC, where he absolutely got his ass whooped until he took the guy's back and submitted him. So Mateo's used to tough situations, to bleeding, to being exhausted, to being in long fights, which wasn't the case with Nick Ouellet, who was basically 2-0 before the beginning of this fight. So man, at 2-0, Going 25 minutes with a guy like Mateo Vogel, it only can be positive for Nicolas Ouellet, who was already my rookie of the year last year, and who is already one of the Canadian prospects and who I have the most faith to become somebody, because he's also pretty good at striking too. So, man, major fucking props to these guys. Like I said, if Serhiy doesn't get a call to the contender series, because I feel like it could happen. The guy's 7-1. That's the type of guys they're bringing into the contenders, and I think they're pretty much booked now, or I don't know if they're all booked, but they're booked. But there's always some injuries. There's always some bullshit happening. So if Siri could be a guy that like has his visa and is ready to go and whatever, he could be a contender to fill in some of these fights. But let's say that doesn't happen, which is a probability, a high probability to. The Mateo against Siri rematch on for 5 rounds at 135 would be absolutely incredible. And like, there's no way that if this fight happens again, there's no way that the winner is not like moving up to contenders or the UFC. So that's what I want to see next. What an amazing fight, guys! I don't even have words anymore for it. It was so amazing. Then, whew, 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 whew. Josh, man, I feel for Josh. I like Josh Kwiatkowski. I had him on my podcast once or twice. I love the guy, man. The guy's amazing. He's funny. He's cool. He's a fighter. His entrances with the different masks and general disguises are. He's amazing. He's an amazing guy. I fucking love him, and I got a feel for him right here. Even though I'm super happy for Ryan Rohovich, who is like another guy who had all the troubles getting into the cage. Like, basically, the guy was booked I don't know how many times, and like every fight's getting canceled. It's not working out for him, and man, he finally was able to make it to the cage and to have a fight. And it must have been like really reassuring for him to know that like all the training and all the like the training camps he done for nothing basically they weren't for nothing in the end. But Josh Kwiatkowski had one of the best performances of his career, basically, in that fight. He was outstriking Ryan Rohovich, really by the middle of round two, found his groove with the takedowns, was taking him down, was having some success on top. And in round three, really came out early, grab an amazing takedown and gets on top and starts dominating and landing some shots and doing the most. And then gets kind of lulled in this comfort zone in the guard of Rohovich, where at 4 minutes 25 seconds of the third round, Rohovich threw a triangle and got it. Like, he basically absolutely surprised Kwiatkowski, who was man, on it, well on his way to winning a 30-27, maybe even 30-26 decision, because third round was like so dominant, took him down, was dominating from top position. Like, there was absolutely no offense from Rohovich, basically. And then out of nowhere, grabs the triangle. Amazing submission, amazing comeback win for Ryan Rohovich, who is back at 145 and is ready to take on some better opponents, some good fights. I feel like he was supposed to fight Nick Ouellet. That could be a good fight to do now. Rohovich just won. Ouellet just lost for the first time. I feel like Rohovich's way more experience, so it could be another test for Ouellet to see if he gains some experience from that Mateo fight. So, man, amazing way to come back for Ryan Rohovich. I'm really happy for him, but in another sense, I really feel for Josh. Like, yeah, he won some, he lost some during his career, but that one is especially heartbreaking because, man, he had it. Like, he had it. He was basically 35 seconds away from winning this decision handily, like handily dominating, and man, slipped through his fingers. So you gotta feel for the guy, man. You've gotta fucking feel for the guy because, like I said, such a cool guy, such a guy that you want on your card. The guy has amazing entrances with the masks and everything. He's always super entertaining in the cage, outside the cage. He's a cool stand-up guy that everybody likes. So, man, gotta feel for Josh, but real good shit by Ryan Rohovich, man. Slick submission, amazing comeback win. By far is gonna win the comeback of the year. How could it not? The guy lost like 14 minutes and 20 seconds of the fight, basically, and then came back and landed an amazing submission for the comeback, man. That's what you want to see in MMA, and we fucking got it. Before that, Mitch Strazzella, Matty Hovorka. I'm really hyped. Around, I get there's some hype around Mitch Strazzella. I really like it. His first fight was one of the best fights of last year. One of the best displays I have seen from a pro debut. Him and J.R. Cuevas, both guys, but like some of the best performances for pro debuts I've seen in a while. And I was really looking forward to see what was next with him. And when I seen he was matched up with Matty Hovorka, I was like, man, that could not disappoint, because Matty is a fucking crazy guy who comes in to kill or get killed in the first round. That's usually how it happens. And man, they went at it. They absolutely went at it. Good exchanges on the feet. Then Strazzella was able to take the fight down, and Hovorka like did not give a single fuck. Was trying submission attempts from his guard, really keeping it interesting. And the final sequence is basically a armbar attempt from Hovorka, which was really close. Full, he tried to belly down, forced Strazzella to go all the way around. And when Strazzella escaped the armbar, was just in a better position, was able to take three-quarter mount and pound Matty Hovorka out for the finish late in the first round, at 4 minutes 38 of the first round precisely, to win his second pro fight, move up to 2-0, and keep being one of the most interesting and most must-watch prospects at 135, which is just a crazy division, like we've seen almost every fight basically on this card before the main events was either 135 and or 145. So just before that, another 35 pounds matchup, but on the women's side this time, Alana Cook, Maria Demers were scrapping in their second professional fights, and it was a good scrap. Alana Cook, good first round for her, landed some good shots, so it was able to get some ground control, to really do things well. But it seemed like it took a lot out of her, and she was not the fresher fighter in the second round. She was still engaging, but Demers really had a good second round, and you could really feel the momentum swing in that fight. And by the end of the second round, Demers looked like she was in control of that fight. Looked like she was on her way um, to winning this fight, but Cook came back in the third round and was able to land a very important takedown and get some really good top control on her opponent to go get this decision, this really hard fought decision, in a super cool back and forth women's fight. And man, props to Alana Cook. She dug deep. She got the win. Props to Maria Demers. Really showed up and was probably the best 0-2 female fighting in Canada right now. Man, she's really better than her record, to be quite honest. So I just really look forward to seeing these two girls fight again. But a good win by Alana Cook. She was really able to come back in the third round and to secure that win for a great performance. Before that, we had Oguzhan, Yalcin, and Wesley Bowman in a fight where we gotta say it like it is. Yalchin was heavily favored because he's an amazing wrestler and he comes in to wrestle. He's not fucking around one bit. He's going for the takedowns. He's amazing with his top control. He's able to ride his opponent, and we really saw that in that fight, because I gotta give some huge props to Wesley Bowman. Oh man, he could have just got finished. Like the guy could have just got submitted in that fight or TKO'd in that fight, and like nobody would have even batted an eye. But the guy did not accept any position, and no, he did not win this fight. Like not even close. But he fought super hard and made Oguzhan Yalcin really work for his win. Like Yalcin had to be active at all moments of the fight. Had to really ride the top really well to adjust to the positions, because Bowman was not accepting any position, was not accepting to get punched in the face. And like it was not a stagnant grappling match. It was really a very dominant performance for Yalchin, who won probably 10-8 the final round, and maybe even the round before that. But because Bowman had zero offense because he was so busy just defending. But his defense was really great, and he did not accept any position, and he really fought hard. And I feel like in the loss is kind of the better performance that he could have put on. So major props to Wesley Bowman. And for Yalchin, man, the guy is just great. What you gonna say? The guy is just fucking great. And like I love wrestlers who don't fuck around and just wrestle, man. Like you're a wrestler guy. Don't go out there and try to strike. They're all working on their striking and stuff, but the guy's super early in his pro career. He's only 2-0 now. So unless his striking is all figured out, I don't really care about his striking. I just want to see this guy wrestle. He's great when he wrestles. He's good on top. He's aggressive. He's not like a stalling wrestler. There's some guy that just sit in the guard and try to slow the action down as much as he could. He had an opponent who did not accept the position, and he just kept on scrambling, kept on improving his position, kept on working at all times. So really one of the most interesting type of grappling matches, of grappling heavy fights that you're gonna see. And that's because Bowman defended really well, but also because Yalchin was super willing to be active and to never stop working. And that's what we want to see. Major props to Oguzhan Yalchin, who is another major prospect that you want to watch for in this 135 division in Canada. And finally, because I only talk about pro fights here, you guys know. We had Tylor Nicholson, Nate Ledger, and man, Tylor Nicholson looked like $1 million in that fight. Was able to control the distance on the feet expertly. We know he's an amazing striker, and it was kind of built up as a striker versus grappler matchup. You got the amazing striker who he can get submitted on the ground, and you got the jiu-jitsu guy who's more vulnerable on the feet. But Tylor Nicholson took the back as soon as he could on the ground and was able to sink in the choke, to be able to win this fight. And man, it sucks for Nate Ledger, who's now 0-5 in his pro career. That's not where you want to be. And the guy's fighting hard every fight, but like it's just not going well for him. And for Nicholson, he does not have the best record too, but that was a really good win. And the wins that Nicholson have, they're really impressive. I remember his spinning back kick knockout too was absolutely batshit insane. So every time Nicholson wins, he looks like $1 million. So major props to him. And then I just want to conclude by saying that I really like I used to hate pro am events. I must say I used to hate it. Like I did not want to see the amateur fights. I did not care for it, especially like if you gotta pay for a pay per view, like BFL was before they joined Fight Pass. In fact, it was tough for me to watch the BFL events because sometimes the pay per views like weren't working well or whatever. But let's say like that, I used to hate pro am events, but I really like it now, to be honest. And I wish that we could do this in Quebec. To be honest, I wish, because like BFL and Unified, the way that they're doing it with like the prelim portion on YouTube, where you can watch the amateur fights and get to know the guys that they're gonna move up to this same promotion in the like very near future. It's cool to be able to see them a couple of times before they make the jump, and to have an idea of who these guys are how they want to fight, how they want to do stuff. So I like the fact too that, because like you don't pay for BFL, but you pay for UFC Fight Pass. So BFL is basically a pay-per-view, but you just gotta pay for Fight Pass. But I like the way that they build it, that you can watch the prelims, the amateur action for free, and it gets you knowing these guys and gets you hyped up for the event. And then you've got the event with the main card that it's only pro fights and it's on UFC Fight Pass. I really like that format. So I want to give a big shout out to BFL for that. To be honest, I think it's an amazing way to build up your future talents. And they've been the guys that have been doing in it the best for years, because many of the amateur champs have went on to be some great BFL pro fighters, and some of them have even moved on to the UFC and to the contender series, like Cole Smith and Achilles and these guys. So this format that I used to not like, that I used to say, I like my pro cards, and because I think I'm just OCD on that one, but I really like things separated. Like I like my pro MMA and then my amateur MMA, and like my amateur MMA is all together and my pro MMA is all. That used to be the way I liked to enjoy my fights. But to be honest, I kind of like this format where it's still everything together because it's split between like the YouTube free prelims, that's amateurs, and then the main card on the UFC Fight Pass, which is pro. So I really like the way that they're doing it, and I really should give I want to give them props for that. So that's it. That's my recap. Hope you liked it. Give a like on the video if you appreciate it. You can subscribe to MMA Talk for more Canadian MMA recaps, more Canadian MMA action. I will be recapping all of these events in Canada. So stay tuned for this, and we'll speak soon, guys. Thank you very much, and have a good day.